Alright, and as you can see, here is SpiderGwen herself, or Ghost Spider, or whatever you want to call her. But as you can see, there she is standing there. And in terms of accessories, she has a ton that we have to go over now. So let's get to it. First off, let's go through the many different webs she has. So she comes with 3 different webs. She comes with this tiny one. Hopefully, you can focus. Hopefully, here. So you can see it. Maybe focus, please, please, please. There you go. You can see there's a mini one here. Then you get a medium-sized one right there. Oh, geez, it's not focusing again. There you go, a medium-sized one. Maybe I shouldn't have put her in the background, but you know, it is what it is. And then you get the longest piece right here. And this one, unlike the other two, which attaches on the wrist, this one she can actually hold, as you can see right there. Okay, those are her webs, and she also comes with a pretty handy doohickey tool. Basically, it allows you to remove parts from her, specifically on the figure here. On the back of her, she has this little peg right here, or peg hole, that you can just remove this cover to with that tool. And then you can then attach her to her handy dandy little stand right here, as you can see, with a really nice print on it. You see SpiderMan Across The Spiderverse, and you can clamp her on with the clamp, or you can, like I talked about earlier, use the peg hole she has on her back. Now, with that, as you can see, her hands that she comes with are her open palm hello hands. That's what I have her as right now. But she comes with a bunch of hands, as of course most import figures do. You can see she has her web holding hands here, 2 of those. She also has 2 spider web shooting hands, 2 of those. You can see here's one of them, and then here is the other one. Hopefully I can focus. Alrighty. You also get her splayed out hands, and of course you get 2 of those right there. And then finally you get 2 whatever these hands are. Her cup holding hands, something like that. Yeah. So you get a bunch of hands. However, a problem I do have with the figure is that these hands are really hard to actually swap between, just because this little ball joint here, it's actually a super small ball joint under there, and then the arms are the sockets, and they're very, very tiny, and because of that, they're also very hard to get into. You can just see how small this peg hole or socket joint is inside that hand. And for the most part, I've had to use a hair dryer to heat up the plastic to actually be able to even swap the hands. They're very tight on there. And so that's a major nitpick. I won't even say mine. No, not even a nitpick. It's a problem with the figure. And I just wanted to point that out. But aside from that, you also get her hood, but it's down. So you can attach whether you want her hood up like this right here, or it down. It's up to you. If you use this one here, you'll get more articulation out of the head. You also get an alternate mask face. It's her squinting, whereas the one she has on is just her normal opened eyes one, which I prefer. But if you want some action poses, you can use this one right here, which is the same face I think the Marvel Legends tried to go with, but it just didn't look right to me. It looked really weird on the Marvel Legends, hence why I got the SH Figuarts of her. And then you get an alternate unmasked head, and this looks pretty good. I like it a lot. It looks pretty accurate to the one in the movie, and you can see she has a different neck joint as well, one showing exposing her neck, I guess you can say it like that. And yeah, in terms of accessories, that is pretty much it. So with that, let's get on to the actual figure. Okay, and so the figure herself, look-wise, this figure looks fantastic. It basically looks exactly like the character from the film, just brought to plastic form. And so look-wise, I basically have no complaints with it. It looks fantastic. Now, when you go to articulation, I also, for the most part, don't have any complaints with it. She has amazing posability in her arms and legs. However, there are two points of articulation that I wish she could have improved on. That being, one of them is her head, which is limited if you have the hood on. Although I don't really blame the figure for that, just because it's part of the character design, so there's not much going around that. But what you can do is you can remove the hood and have her hood down part on, which gives her more articulation in the head. However, getting that actual headpiece out of the hood is pretty difficult. I actually saw a review where the person used the tool they gave you to help remove the head, and I found that to be really useful in helping it, although it's still very finicky. But once you do, you can get it through. And I should probably mention that the hood piece actually has really nice details on the insides, which you for the most part never see, but it's very nice that they did that for you. My second problem with her articulation is her ab crunch, which I definitely think could have been a little better. She can arch her back really well, but when it comes to the forward crunch, she can't do it as well. And I mean, Miguel even understands the assignment. He doesn't let his big muscles get in the way of his stretches. But that doesn't mean that you can't get her into some really dynamic poses. And overall, aside from those two posability problems, her articulation is awesome, and you can do a lot of different action poses with her. Now, in a perfect world, we would just be able to enjoy the figure with no QC issues and, pose her around with the other Spider-Man figures and whatnot. But unfortunately, this is not a perfect world, and she does have some QC issues. The first one, on my figure at least, is that while I love the sneakers that she has on this figure, the right foot does have some paint chipping, although that's very minor, not a big deal to me. However, what is a bigger deal is that for some reason the right foot, the ankle joint for that is extremely tight to the point where I'm very worried about breaking it just because of how thin the legs are. The left foot is completely fine. It's just the right ankle joint that I'm pretty worried about. And I have tried some methods to get it to loosen up, but none of it has really worked so far. So I'm really worried about ever moving that joint. However, it hasn't broken on me yet, so there's that. Another QC issue that I've seen around is that her hip joints are extremely tight and might be prone to breaking. I have seen the Miles figure from SH Figuarts break at the hip. Fortunately, my SpiderGwen figure doesn't have extremely tight joints. They're actually pretty smooth and pretty, not loose, but they're pretty easy to move around. So fortunately, I don't seem to have that QC issue on my figure, but it's just something that I wanted to mention in case your figure does, and that there's solutions. I think one of them is to use shock oil on the ball joints, or you can use a hair dryer. There's a bunch of different methods that you can probably find on YouTube. And then the last QC issue, which it seems to be only my figure, it's that there are some small holes on the long spider web piece, and because of this, they're so small I actually didn't notice at first, but then once I did, I went back and looked at the other spider web pieces, and it seemed that the only other one that got affected by this, I don't know, small hole problem is the medium size spider web with one small hole on it. Fortunately though, they are very small holes to the point where you basically won't even notice them. I didn't notice it for a good while, but and it only seems to be a cosmetic thing. It doesn't seem to actually affect the structure, or the structural integrity of the piece. So there's that. And now this isn't a QC issue, but I did want to mention it. As I talked about earlier, swapping the hands is really finicky, and that's because you got this really small ball joint on her wrist. I wish they would have used a peg. That would have been a lot easier to swap out the hands in and out. But because of how small this ball peg is, I am quite worried about it breaking. It's not like the plastic quality on the figure is actually bad. It's specifically just because of how small it is. So I would recommend using some type of hair dryer or some way so that you can remove the hands more easily, because it is quite finicky. Aside from it just breaking, it's just really it's annoying to take it in and out. And so I normally use a hair dryer, although of course it's your figure. If you don't want to risk damaging it from the heat, you know, you can do some other way to swap out the hands, but that's just what I do. And yeah, that's just really unfortunate. I mean, just look at how small that ball peg is, okay? That thing makes a Lego minifigure look like a Titan, okay? I said look like. Okay, we get it. Just stop looking at me like that. Size comparison times. Here is SpiderGwen next to some Marvel Legends Across the Spiderverse figures, those being Miles, Miguel, and the Spot. Here it is next to the Transformers Legacy Leader Class Armada Megatron. Here is it next to another co-star of the film, Lego Spider-Man. And here is it next to a Hot Wheels light blue Shy Guy. Why? Because why not? And so my overall thoughts on the figure is that she is good. However, it's just unfortunate that because of the QC issue and some of the finicky bits on this figure, it really holds it back from what is essentially a perfect, well, figure. And that's just really unfortunate, because for the premium price that you pay for her, there really shouldn't be any QC issues. But if you can get past that, I would still recommend her, because she is still a great SpiderGwen figure. Oh, and one other thing I should probably mention is that for some reason she doesn't come with any fists, so you can't do any punching action poses, but with the amount of hand accessories that you come with, you're not limited at all with what you can do with her. But aside from that, that's about it for me. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!